Trenton Talks, WIMG 1300, and WPHY Channel 25 are proud to present In the Public Interest. Each week, we explore a new topic of interest for you, the public. We now join our host live from the WIMG studios.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of The Other Side with K-Ro in the Public Interest. I have a wonderful guest here today, a poet. You labeled yourself a community advocate. You're going to tell us what that means. Yes. And you have a musical that's coming up. You advocate for people that have been in abusive domestic violence relationships, situations, yes. And you have a whole lot going on. So I wanted to bring you in, first of all, to talk about all of these aspects. Your name is Crystal Joy Murray, and you also go by, now you pronounce it, Mussett. How do you pronounce that?
Musette.
Musette, okay, and that's yes. What I thought, but I wasn't sure. Yes. Musette the poet. So the poetess, okay, yes. The poetess. So let's talk about that first. Musette the poetess. Who is that? How did that come about? First of all, welcome to the show. Thank you for being my guest.
Oh, thank you very kindly for having me. Musette the Poetess came about when I was 7 years old, and I love poetry. I fell in love with poetry. Actually, I played the piano with poetry. You know, sometimes I'm theatrical on stage because I love to act. So I just collaborated all together, and I've been doing this since I'm 7. Now I'm ready to take it to another level, and to help people mm-hmm. through my poetry. Mm-hmm. And I also do spiritual poetry. Okay. You know, for all people. Okay. All races, all creeds.
So now, and I read some of your the stuff that's on your page. Your poetry speaks to everyday situations, and some of the things that people don't want to talk about. Can you just talk about some of that?
Domestic violence, mm-hmm. death, overcoming the grieving from death, mm-hmm. Divorce, things of that nature. So those are the type of things that I touch on. Mm-hmm. And then I touch on happy things, like the lighthouse. I had somebody ask me to write a poem for the lighthouse because the ships need the lighthouse in the middle of the ocean. So I did that. Mm-hmm. Air balloons, mm-hmm. and people invite me to write and speak for their different occasions. Mm-hmm. So I love what I do. I make people smile. I do funerals. I do weddings.
Oh, wow, okay. Yeah. So now, have you found with you touching on these touchy subjects and even the happy subjects that it kind of gives you an open door? Do you find that people come up to you and tell you that your piece helped them, it spoke to them, it even was like a catalyst to kind of push them to do something?
Yes. One piece in particular, for Black History Month, I did a piece that I entitled The Liberty Bell, mm-hmm. and a Caucasian woman was in the audience, and she said she loved it, and she said, what I really liked about it is that you didn't put us down as a people, talking about the Caucasians.
Okay, good, right.
And she said, you didn't insult us, you appreciated us, because I added them in as well. Mm-hmm. And she gave me a hug. Wow. And so that meant a lot to me. Yeah. You know, so yeah, I have a lot of people, when I did a poem on domestic violence, mm-hmm. How I overcame it, I had a lady, walk up to the stage and say, can I just give you a hug? Wow. So I had those good experiences.
So now your poetry, is it committed to memory, or do you read it?
It's both. Depending on when I like to read it. I like to be theatrical, mm-hmm. hands-free, mm-hmm. and I don't like to stand in front of the mic and be still. So I like to work the stage.
Oh, okay.
So with saying that, I ask people to please give me enough time. But if they say like there's a party coming up and I really need you, is public speaking coming up, I really need you. If I don't have anything, I'll tell them ahead of time. But I'll make sure that I'm on a podium
Okay.
And I have the paper in front of me.
Right.
I try to remember much as I can the night before.
Right.
To look polished.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, sometimes I may freestyle.
Right.
Because I'll learn a little bit about the person within a 20, 15-minute time.
Okay.
And then I can let it flow and let it go.
So you freestyle?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to put you on the spot this minute. I'm going to take a break because I'm going to let you get yourself together and maybe get something together, because I do want to hear a piece.
Okay.
Or a snippet of a piece.
Okay.
Okay. So, and I want our listeners to hear something too.
Okay, absolutely.
So, but now you touched on domestic violence.
Yes.
You were a victim yourself.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, I'm fine. I'm open. Yes. I was connecting to familiar spirits. What I mean by that, I left one situation.
Wow.
And I thought I was healed from it and went to another situation.
Wow. And before you go on, though, because that seems to be common. I see, and because I've done a lot of shows on domestic violence. I've talked to women that were in an abusive relationship. They got out of it. They talked about it. They got into another relationship that they thought, this is the one. You know, this is, God sent him to me. He's the love of my life. And then lo and behold, it's abusive also. Why does that happen?
Because you have to become delivered.
Okay.
You know, by the deliverer. You have to come delivered. You have to understand why. You have to do your own research. You have to go into your life, your background. Why am I keep accepting this? That's what I did.
Okay.
I broke down the science of my situation and found out I was abused even as a baby. So your spirit automatically starts to connect with familiar spirits.
And that's why I wanted you to touch on that, because it's not just a mental, psychological thing. It's a spiritual thing.
Yes, absolutely. So you just automatically connect, but if you don't know that and you don't do your own research for your own self, you won't know that, and you'll keep falling into the same situation over and over again. I got tired, so I broke down the science of my life. And
was part of that, well, you tell me, what did that journey look like?
That journey was hard.
Yeah.
Things I kept repeating itself, like unfortunately, my mom gave me a black eye and my eye was red, bloodshot red. And when I got in my 20s, it like life repeated itself. My first boyfriend, the same thing. My first husband, the same thing. So
keep talking.
Certain things that I experienced in my home life growing up actually happened and repeated itself in my relationships.
Wow.
So I didn't realize it until I was put into a safe house.
And so you did go into a safe house.
Yes.
Wow.
Which is different from a shelter.
Right.
Because I was in both.
Okay.
So in the shelter, I didn't have time to have serenity and think amongst myself. I had to go by the house rules, and I was on a schedule. I had my children with me. It was other kids there. Everybody was running around, you know, little children screaming. And
that's the shelter.
That's the shelter.
Okay.
But then you have the home life, which is the safe house. And so we had peace there. The children and I had peace, and I was able to find myself within that peace at the safe house. And I was able to stay there for a year to collect myself and get myself together. And that's where I discovered, because I got tired. You know, I said, I need to find out why I keep running into the same situation over and over again.
Yeah. And so was part of that journey counseling?
Yes. But every counselor, you have to be aware of every counselor.
Yeah.
You have to make sure you connect with counselors.
Yeah.
Because every counselor is not a counselor.
I agree.
You know, it's on paper, but not actually.
Right.
So I didn't connect with every counselor. And the one that I did connect with, I'm very spiritual, and I asked God to send me.
Yeah, that's important.
Yes.
That's important. And I'm glad that you said that, because getting a good counselor is just like getting a good doctor. If you go to one doctor and they don't meet your needs, you don't just throw your hands up and say, I'm done with doctors. Doctors they don't know what they're doing. You go until you find a doctor that's going to meet your needs and sit down and talk with you. And it's the same thing with the counselor. All counselors are not created equally. And it's the same thing. You really have to, for lack of a better way of saying it, shop around And I believe if you pray, I really believe if you pray and ask God to lead you to one, that He will do that. He will do that.
Absolutely.
Was a part of that journey also, because you talked about familiar spirits, was it binding that spirit in your life?
Yes. It was hard at first because I was ignoring. And I heard God speaking to me, and I was ignoring it. So warning comes before destruction.
Yeah.
And I kept getting warning, I will admit. But then I said, no. And I went ahead, and then the destruction happened.
Wow.
And one thing I wanted to say, I always had a very good job. I always worked for the state, but I would end up homeless after I got abused because I had to start life all over again.
Yeah.
And what people don't understand is when you have to start all over again, your paycheck, you have to start from the ground zero.
Yeah.
And I would have to leave everything behind and start all over. And because your pay stub says a certain, number, and then before taxes it says another higher number,
right?
Places don't want to help you.
Wow.
And I hope that changes for the future.
Yeah.
For people that are going through different things, with abuse, because you do have to start all over.
And see, now, in as many shows that I've done on domestic violence, this is the first time that aspect has come up, having to start all over with nothing, and the resources aren't out there to really help you do that.
No.
Wow. How many times did you have to do that?
Uncountable.
Wow.
Because I kept connecting to the same familiar spirits.
Wow. And so getting back to that journey, I wanted to point out, because the show is called The Other Side with Cairo, and what I do is I talk about things that the church doesn't normally talk about, they won't address, or they are kind of narrow-minded about it. And certain things like this, you do need both. You need that spiritual component. You need to address the spiritual aspect of it, but you also need that counseling and address the psychological and mental aspect of it to become whole. And that's the thing. Christ wants us to be whole, and He has given us different resources to make us whole. And I think the church talks about being made whole, but they don't really give you the tools and what that looks like in becoming and being made whole. We're coming up against the break. I want you to introduce who you have with you, and then we'll pick it up on the other side of the break.
Okay, wonderful.
Introduce him.
Okay, this is Lamont. He's my brother from another mother.
Okay.
Yes, he's been with me through hard times, trials, and tribulations, and helped me redirect my mind and my heart when I was going through domestic violence with my ex-husband.
Okay.
Yes.
And is he your business partner?
Yes, and he's my business partner. He's also in my production for Washdown musical.
Okay.
And he's also a poet, so sometimes we do poetry together.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, we collaborate together. So, yes.
Okay. So when we come back, welcome to the show.
Hello. I am a little nervous, I ain't gonna lie.
Okay, it's just me and you having a conversation.
Okay, there it is there.
It's just me and you.
We on there.
Okay, so when we come back, I'm going to bring you into the conversation, find out how you even got connected together and what your background is. And I want to hear some poetry from both of you, if that's possible.
That's
okay?
possible.
So we'll do all of that on the other side of the break. You're listening to and watching The Other Side with Cairo in the Public Interest. We will be right back after this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pregnant? Struggling with addiction? We care about you and your baby. Help is available right now for free. Medication for withdrawal, housing, food, transportation, childcare. Just call 609-256-7801. That's 609-256-7801. 0800-475-0101 or visit formybabyandme.org. That's formybabyandme.org. You are not alone. Help is available today for free.
Need a truck to move? Let Justin's Rental of Selman's BP save the day. Justin's has the right trucks for all commercial and residential moves. Justin's has the moving supplies and boxes available. Justin's Rental at Selman's BP has everything you need for your move at affordable prices, featuring the best in pickup trucks, 10 and 15-foot box trucks and vans. Justin's Rental at Selman's BP is located at 2596 South Broad Street, across from the McDonald's in Hamilton. For your rental truck needs, call 609-888-3327. That's 609-888-3327. Justin's Rental at Selman's BP. If you are moving, we have the trucks to meet your moving needs.
With more The Other Side with K-Ro in the Public Interest. I'm talking with my special guest, Crystal Joy Murray, and her guest that she has with her, Lamont Toombs. Now, I'll let you go ahead and you tell us, first of all, how did the two of you get connected with each other?
Well, it was real easy. My mother used to do her hair.
Okay.
And one day I came into the shop, and I do poetry, but I do it for a different reason. I do it for math. And
you do it for math?
M-A-T-H, most acute, top height. I do math. I believe everything is math.
Wait, you got to talk nice and slow so we catch it. Most what?
I believe math is most acute, top height, as an acronym being the topmost description.
Okay.
So I break down things in math through poetry.
Set up straight. Okay, you break down things in math through poetry. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, in order to say what I'm saying is, math is 1 through 9.
Okay.
That's the only math. What's less than 1? Nothing. And what's more than 9 is 10. Well, 10 is 2 numbers, and numbers are like letters. They have dual syllables. So if it has 2 meanings, it's not divine math. So divine math is 1 through 9. So when I listen to all of our complaints, when I do out my poetry, I try to do it with math. And that's how you solve all the problems in the world. See, we go by opinion instead of doing the math. Because opinion is 1/3, and it can't solve solution.
Okay.
Because 1/3 can't solve solution.
Okay.
6 plus blank is blank. And if you want to get biblical, which we all do, 12:4 Revelations. 1/3 of the angels were kicked out of heaven. They can't solve solution. So I tell people, if you deal with math, then you'll solve the solution. Math, topic, opinion is the divine outline. If your opinion tries to supersede the topic, you can never get the math.
Okay.
So that's my approach to poetry. And that's how we met, because she comes from a different angle, from a more sapio way. And I come from a mathematical way.
Okay, and so how did you help her through her domestic violence situation?
Because we have intertwined in other times with the same thing, meaning my mother went through the same thing, heavy. Oh, wow. So it was easy to connect with Crystal because she's real. So it's kind of like, you know what I'm saying, it's easy to connect with somebody that's on the same plane as you. So that was never a problem with us as far as like connecting and talking. And the poetry, I just believe, from the different angles that we come at, I believe is what is why we do what we do in poetry. Because I love her style and she loves my style, and it's an equal love, I believe. You know what I'm saying, like a level. Like a palindrome in a way.
Okay. So Crystal, so that your experiences and then your love for poetry and your talent in poetry prompted you to start this ministry. Yeah. Can I call it that?
Yes,
ministry?
Yes. In
My Pen Ink.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
Okay. Well, In My Pen Ink actually is my first book that I written. And that's how I came up with In My Pen Ink. In My Pen Ink is me wanting to give back. I got delivered from the abuse, and I want to help other people, get delivered by the deliverer.
Yes.
That was my problem. That was what was missing in my situation. So I believe that if I can bring it home to the churches, the synagogues, wherever, you know, I can help redirect people's lives and make a better them out of themselves, you know, so they can look up and not down. And abuse has no discrimination at all. You know, it doesn't care if you're rich or if you're poor. Like I said, I had a comfortable salary, and I went down to zero. And in a wink of an eye.
Wow.
And I just want to put those things out there to help people, you know, and let them know they're not alone. I've been through it. And I'm not ashamed, because, you know, God has sent me shelter in the storm. And I went through it for a reason. I didn't understand it while I was going through it. But now I understand, because I was supposed to start this ministry through my poetry as a literary artist for God.
No, go ahead. I want to interrupt you.
And I feel that my poetry came from the heavens of glory, and I'm supposed to give back. You know, not keep it for myself. You know, and reach out and help other people.
And you hit on two things. I'm going to back up to something that you said in a minute, but you hit on two things that I say all the time. The stuff that we go through is not only about us, and it's not only for us. There's a verse in the Bible that says the God of all comfort you, so that you then can turn and comfort somebody else with the same comfort that God comforted you. And so that God allows us to go through things so that we can then minister to somebody else, because somebody else may be going through that and be ready to end their lives. Or God forbid, and we see it happen all the time, and the whole family's life. You know what I mean? Like, this is not worth living. I don't want to leave my kids in this situation, and they need you to come into the picture and say, there's another side of this. There is the other side of this. And because I made it through, so can you. So can you. And then you also talked about your poetry. And this is a big thing for me, that God gives us with things, and it certainly is not just for our enjoyment. It's so that we can bless the world with that. Whether it's poetry, whether it's singing, whether it's speaking, whether it's any of the arts, dancing, drawing, whatever it is, that is so that we can bless the world with what God has gifted us with.
Right, absolutely.
And the other thing that you said that came up the last time I did a show on domestic violence, and I just want to reiterate it because you said it real quick and went over it, but I want everybody to hear this, that it is not discriminatory, that it doesn't matter what your color is, what your race is, what your religion is, what your age is, even what your gender is. Abuse, domestic abuse, can happen and does happen to anybody across the board. It does not discriminate.
Right.
And so, and even any economic group. It is not just the poor people that experience it. It's not just the rich people. It's not just the middle class. It goes across all socioeconomical boundaries. And so that, and a lot of times people think, oh, that could never happen to me. And I've talked to people who said that could never happen to me. And guess what? It happened to them. And so it can happen to anybody, which is why doing shows like this and having ministries like yours is so important. So now, in my pen ink, tell me about the book. What is the book about?
The book is inspirational poetry.
Okay.
And spiritual poetry. It's uplifting. So, and I also talk about Black history.
Okay.
In my poetry book. And some life experiences that I had, and I know that it can help other people. Women with hats, you know, talking about the church women. And
today is National Hat Day too.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. So those are the type of things. It feels good when people read my book and they tell me, oh, this is my favorite poem or my favorite piece.
Wow.
That feels good, you know. I touch people's lives, and I'm glad that, you know, that I can be there for them. You know, it's medication. Meditation. Yes. And
so that's a great segue.
Yes.
For you to share something with us, a little snippet of something.
Okay. Well, I guess MLK is coming up.
Yes.
So I'll do a little something. Okay. Tribute to our roots. for all that was forgotten. And when it became sunrise on the plantation, some slaves woke up from the dreadful night, while others cried by the tree, by the sunlight. Some ran away, some got away, so we all can have freedom today. You see, this is no mystery, but this is our history. As the ravens crowed down by the big house in Mississippi, the slaves prayed for salvation to go home to see the royal city, because life here on earth wasn't too pretty. It's sad when we wake up to our reality to know that we're bound to the chains of slavery. And oh yes, we risk death because we rather die free. You see, because death was the only way that we could have liberty. So let me take it back to the hands of time when slavery was no crime and we were sold from dawn to dusk. And we had no opinion what was going on with us. The moments of the slashing and bashing and hearing our bones cracking. Let's not forget the experience of church burnings, restrictions of learning, ever working, never earning, with wagon wheels turning, with white sheets with holes in them, and being tied to railroad tracks and whips on our backs. See, we have to teach our children not to hate their own kind, just like we did in the past. Oh yes, we made inventions that did last. The traffic signal and the gas mask. So you know we're up for the task. All over the states, people of color that paved the way. Leaders like Booker T down to the NAACP. We had leaders like J.A. Rogers, who researched our black history so our minds could be free. And Madam C.J. Walker, which was the first black woman millionaire with hair products for our colored people. Listen to me and let me teach you. And Mary McLeod Bethune has served as a special assistant to President Roosevelt on monetary affairs. You see, we're moving up America, now beware. And Malcolm speaks from the prison walls down to the masjid halls. Revolution and philosophy. And oh yes, Dr. Martin Luther King marched on Washington in 1963. Philip Randolph has stopped segregation in the United States Armed Forces. When marching to Zion, there's no more crying. And on December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white man. And I asked myself, how can them? We'll be free from bondage and poverty. We'll have education and equality. And oh yes, this world can be changed like people like you and you and you and me. I am Musette, for the love of God indeed. God bless and peace.
Oh, that was wonderful. Oh my goodness. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very kindly.
Wow, that was wonderful. It takes a lot to impress me. I was impressed. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. Now, would you like to share a piece?
Well, my piece would be different than that.
Okay.
So I keep telling you, we do a different. The way that the poetry mixes in, I know it's kind of hard I'm coming from the math point of view from hers, but it's the same thing. But mine would be, I go on the math of what it is. So mine would be, welcome to the cabaret of math. You know? And we're dealing with a divine outline. Math topic opinion. If your opinion tries to supersede the topic, you can never get to mathematics. I can promise you that. Now, what I say is, I'm telling in poetry, so I don't have anything just to flow it out.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to do is get us to do the math and not the opinion. I promise you. If you say, he did this, she did this, what's the math? What was the right? And that's how you solve it. And that's when I give her my poetry and I try to give her to hear some of this stuff, and this is how we cross it on her when she gave me the poem to say. This is what I want to say about me. And I said, well, you got to read that from a man's point of view. And if I read that from a man's point of view, then I touch you properly.
Yes.
So my poetry is a little different, but it makes hers the way she wants it. So mine's coming from a whole different angle.
Okay.
So if you came to me, mine is a different angle of poetry. So this is her day. You go ahead.
Okay. We're coming up against another break. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about, you have an event coming up.
Yes.
And I saw your post for dancers, for actors, for all kinds of people to be a part of this production.
Yes.
I want you to tell us what it's about, when it is, all that good stuff when we come back, okay?
Okay.
And thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm all choked up now. You're watching The Other Side with K-Ro. Listen to The Other Side with K-Ro in the Public Interest. My special guest is Crystal Joy Murray, and she has with her also Lamont Toombs. And we'll be right back after this.
Quicken Loans, our 17,000 team members know that home is so much more than a house. That's because our clients tell us all the time. Hey, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, and we want to help you save money on your mortgage with some of the lowest refinancing rates ever. Rates are historically low. You may be able to reduce your rate and save money on your monthly mortgage payment right now. Pay off some credit card debt, or put some money towards that new bathroom or kitchen you've always wanted. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.99%. APR 4.18%. That's right, 3.99%. While we can't predict what will happen in the future, we do know that rates have dropped, and now is the time to save money on your mortgage. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn how refinancing now may be the right mortgage solution for you. That's 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.375% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
While nearly 80% of cardiac events can be prevented, cardiovascular disease continues to be the leading cause of death in women, killing one woman about every 80 seconds. By making a commitment to stand with the American Heart Association's Go Red for Women movement, women everywhere are coming together to take action and end heart disease and stroke. Join the American Heart Association on Friday, February 7th for National Wear Red Day. Visit GoRedForWomen.org or call 609-208-0020. Go Red for Women is nationally sponsored by CVS Health. WIMG 1300 AM is a proud media sponsor.
With The Other Side with K-Row in the Public Interest. My special guest is Crystal Joy Murray. In my pen ink, and before we broke, we were talking about a production that you have coming up, The Washdown. Now, before we start talking about specifics of that, how did that even come about, and what does The Washdown mean? What is that?
The Washdown is my deliverance. Okay. Father God had washed me down from all the dirt of domestic violence that I have been through. He washed me down. He soaked me down with his love, and his love is the sponge. That's why I call it the washdown. Also, one day in the 90s, I had an experience. I was beaten up, and I had to take my kids out in the rain. I was walking in the rain, and Father God told me He gonna wash me down with this rain. So as I was going through my experiences, the production was coming to me piece by piece. I didn't know when it was going to launch. I didn't know when I was going to write it, but I was told that way back in the 90s, so that at least it's like 30 years ago.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh my. Wow. And that in there is a testimony and encouragement to people, because a lot of times, especially this generation, we want to see immediate results. You know what I mean? We go through something today, we want to capitalize on it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But 30 years.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
My oldest son is 30.
Wow.
And I had him at 16. And I used to get beat with him in my arms. So
is this play, it's a musical?
It's a musical about my life.
It's about,
my life on stage.
Wow.
And this is letting people know that I'm not ashamed. I survived. I'm a survivor.
Yeah.
I thank God for sending me shelter in the storm. You know.
And so, and like I said, I saw your post, I think going back to November, where you were looking for dancers, you were looking for actors, looking for different people to do different things in this production. How long ago did you actually start working on putting the production together to present it?
June of 2019.
Okay.
We have everybody that we need. The only thing I'm looking for now is a choreographer.
Oh, okay. And have you posted for that?
Yes, I have. Yes,
because I know some great choreographers. But go ahead.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah. Wow.
I wanted this to be my mission as well, and I didn't want to stop just there. A lot of things that I write about in my poetry, I wanted it to come to stage. I had somebody minister to me 2 years ago and told me that I am supposed to be a director, writer, and it's supposed to go on stage.
Oh, wow.
So that was confirmation because I heard that from Father God back in the 90s.
Can I just stop right there? Please don't lose your train of thought. But that is another one of my pet peeves, that when somebody prophesies to you, it should confirm something in you that you already know, or at least speak to something in you. So many people get a prophecy and try to direct their lives to fulfill that, but you know, God will fulfill his own word, and so it was confirmation to you. This wasn't new information.
Right.
Okay.
I didn't want to deviate God's plan anymore.
Yeah.
I wanted to stay on my yellow brick road and get to my Emerald City.
Okay.
Hallelujah. Anyhow.
Dorothy. All right. Dorothy, right?
Yeah. So the play now is going into fruition, and also with the production, I turned it into a business. Okay, so it's a nonprofit.
Okay.
And then Musette is a LLC. Okay, so they're both under the same umbrella.
Okay.
And
so In My Pen Inc. is a nonprofit.
Yes, nonprofit. Yes.
Okay.
And in the near future, I'm looking to have my own safe house.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so I can give back.
Yeah. Yeah. So you don't have a date or anything for when this is going to?
Yes, it's
Oh, you do have a date.
I do have a date.
Okay.
Actually, I got the date yesterday. It's the second. I can't remember the date because I don't have a calendar in front of me.
Okay.
But it's the second Friday and second Saturday, October 2020.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So there are 3 shows, and then we're going to give back to the community a show in June. We don't have a date yet, and that's going to be in Florence, New Jersey, and then we have a date in August, and that's going to be in Willingboro.
Oh, okay.
So I will let you guys know.
Absolutely.
You know, the dates in the very near future. Yes.
So you know what, and what you just said kind of reminded me of something else that I wanted to talk about. Giving back to the community. You call yourself a community advocate. What does that mean, and what does that look like?
Well, for me, what it looks like is I know when I got beat up, I didn't have anybody to help reconstruct my scars in my face. I had to walk around with it.
You were beat up that badly?
I was beat up that bad.
Oh.
Yeah. And I thank God that he preserved me because I don't look like it.
Yeah, not at all.
So, you know, I just give God all the praises for that. So what I want to do for people is to help them so they can lift up their spirits, let them know that there are people out there that care for them. They understand. They don't want to just rush them off, look at their clock. They only get 45 minutes and they pay their copay and they're out the door.
Yeah.
That happened to me. And, you know, in my organization, I want counselors that care. If counselors need counseling, is an open door for them. You know, because sometimes it's heavy on their back.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because we're dealing with spirits at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, that's cut out a lot, you know. So, I want to give back that way. Clothes, helping them start all over, especially with the safe house. I would like my safe house structured the way the safe house was structured for me, instructed for me.
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't have to pay any bills for a whole year.
Oh, wow. And
I was able to get my life back on track. They came over, they checked on my family and myself. The furniture was there. They gave us everything from bedspreading to silverware. We didn't have to buy anything.
Yeah.
The cell phone wasn't too popular, but we had the house phone. We had free parking We were in a gated community, a townhouse.
Wow.
There were 3 bedrooms. It was very nice. It even came with a pool.
Wow.
So when I left, I felt fresh air, a breath of fresh air. I could breathe. I was able to get my credit back.
Yeah.
You know, that's another thing. You know, when you're going through this struggle, people credit get messed up. You know, so I want to help. You know, out in that area and bring people in that want to volunteer their services as professionals to help redirect people's lives along with me in my mission, because I didn't have that help. You know, so and a lot of times families turn against you when you're going through this. They tell you, well, I experienced, well, you must like it because you went back.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But you don't know why I went back.
Right.
I was trying to save my child's life or trying to save my life.
Right.
You know, and I know a lot of people go through that.
Yeah.
And they're nervous and embarrassed to let family know. I went through that. I let church members know. I was told that I was lying.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And that really hurt it.
Yeah.
Because one of my ex-husbands, I was married 3 times. One of my ex-husbands actually was a deacon at the church. And, no, Sister Crystal, you're lying. You're making this up. People got really upset with me. And they came to my house like a witch hunt.
Wow.
To see if I was telling the truth or not. And it took me a long time, but I had to leave that congregation because I was getting beat up as he was smiling in the church. Then I had families turn on me. I had my family turn on me.
Wow.
Because they say, you're still in the situation. I don't feel like being bothered.
Wow.
That's drama over there.
Wow.
Then you hear on my in-law side, that couldn't be my son. That couldn't be my grandson. That couldn't be my my nephew. That B is lying. Let's get her.
Wow.
So I know that happens a lot. I'm not. I know I'm not alone with that.
Right.
You know. So I want people to know that I'm there for them. And these are the subjects that are swept up under the rug.
Yes.
I call it behind the scenes, behind the backstage. You know, this is not brought up. You know, especially when you go to counseling. This is not brought up. Group counseling, this is really not brought up. And family and friends say that they're there. Are you really there?
Yeah.
Then it's a flip side to all this. What I experienced is that I was telling a good close friend of mine, female, everything I'm going through. She took it in, but she used it against me. So you have to make sure that you're very careful of who you tell.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow.
Yes. And my intervene. This is what I was talking about what you're talking about, which is perfect. You know, I know her story, so it's, you know, so when I hear it, that's probably why I'm looking down, because I already heard it. But this is the math that I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. If she gets violated and all this stuff, nothing happens, right? But they'll send black men to prison for a wrong definition if you take cocaine and baking soda and mix it together, and they say it makes a pure form of something. Well, that's impossible by math. So they'll send us to prison for the rest of our life. But she can get violated, and they won't. And if I got the right amount of money, I won't even be punished. But they'll send somebody that looks like me to jail for the rest of my life for a wrong definition. Purity means pure. You can't take 2 substances to purify it. Rule 35B, the United States Constitution. That's what I want to talk about.
Okay.
Because that's what I'm talking about. She goes through what she goes through, as she feels what she feels, and I feel it because this hurts me too. So you got to go through this. She goes through this. Meanwhile, our government is doing what they do, locking people up, when this girl right here can't get no justice in the court system. So what's justice?
And a lot of people, go through these situations and they don't get justice, We're coming up against another break. Is this the end of the show break, or is this the break? Okay, because I want to make sure that you get your contact information in. And when we come back, I want to talk about what is your role in this production, because I know that your partners are working together. Did you collaborate on this, or?
Well, she pulled me in to do her poem for her, and I really wanted. I thought that's the poem she was going to play. It's her poem. She wrote it.
Okay.
And she asked me to do it with my voice to let her feel it.
It's the it's from Whence I've Came.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, when we come back, maybe we'll get a chance to go over that. I definitely want, because everything that you talk about, yes, is needed, and definitely you are a community advocate. And there was something else that you said about the safe house. I want to come back to that on the other side of the break.
Okay.
But I want people to be able to get your contact information, to be able to know how to get your book, to be able to know how to see this production and all this stuff. So I want to make sure we get all of that in before we come to the end of the show. We're coming up against a break. I just want to make sure whether this was a break or whether this was the end of the show break. It's a break. We have one more segment. We'll be back with more The Other Side with K-Ro after this. My special guest is Crystal Joy Murray. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Non-attorney spokesperson. Are you over the age of 60 and been diagnosed with lung cancer? If so, you and your family may qualify for a cash award. Our experienced attorneys are standing by to evaluate whether you have a lung cancer claim that qualifies you for a cash award. The consultation is absolutely free, and there is no risk and no money out of pocket. We only receive a fee when we secure you and your family a settlement. 250,000 people are diagnosed with lung cancer every year. You're not alone in this battle. We can help make sure that you and your family are financially safe and that medical expenses are covered. Again, if you've been diagnosed with lung cancer and are over age 60, call now. Don't delay. There are deadlines for filing claims. We're standing by 24/7.
Call 800-917-9811. 800-917-9811. 800-917-9811.
Attorney advertising. William Steppacker Jr. is the attorney responsible for this ad. Main office, Granton, Pennsylvania. May not be available in all states.
We are back with The Other Side with K-Ro in the Public Interest. My special guest is Crystal Joy Murray. And we're talking about In My Pen Ink and your production that's coming up, The Washdown. I want to back up for just a minute, though, because when you were talking about the safe house that you were in, and you said when you left there you could breathe because you were able to build up some finances, you were able to kind of get your credit back on track. But the other thing that you said is that you were in a gated community. You were in a townhouse, and you had 3 bedrooms, and all of that I think is so important to your state of mind. You know what I mean? So that even though it was a safe house, it still was a family house.
Yeah, family setting.
Yes, and so that you had a sense of normalcy, so that you could go back into, for lack of a better way of saying it, normal life. You know what I mean? You're not coming out from this hideout. You were in a normal family setting, and I think that is so important. I think that is so important because mindset has a lot to do with people's recovery and being made whole So we were talking about this. Now, did you want to do that piece? What was it called?
Oh.
The piece that you collaborated on.
Oh, well, he wanted.
It was going to. It actually has music to it. So that's why we couldn't do it. You didn't have the.
I see.
Yeah,
I see.
It's short notice on that one.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying,
But you two collaborated on it. It was her poem, and you added
correct.
your. Okay.
That's correct. I just did it from the male point of view for to try to see it from this angle. Everything is always said from the woman's angle. You have to understand men have the same pain on the other side too. So, and what I mean by that, as far as what they see, you understand. Regardless, that's painful. So. So I'm just trying to come from it from a different angle. So maybe a more, if you will, masculine point, but just the same thing, but saying it harsher. You know what I mean? Like getting it to whoever needs to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, and what you brought out is a valid point, because I know another guest that I have on frequently, she has a ministry for domestic violence, but she recently has added a new aspect of also ministering to the men, because she realized that a lot of times these men that are doing this are hurting themselves too, and they want help. She got a lot of flack for doing that. Like, how dare you help the abuser? Wow. But if they don't get help, they're just going to continue that cycle of abuse. And so, absolutely, you know, it's a two-sided coin.
Yes. That's what we're saying. Instead of talking about the pain, let's talk about the heal. Because, you know, she could sit there. I know the story, so it gets me like this. But what I'm saying is, let's talk about the heal. Okay. Because the right is the only thing that's going to make it better. Okay. We can sit here and go all the way long and talk about the bad stuff. Let's talk about the right.
So let's talk about the heal.
Well, the heal is through the production. I pray that I can reach a bunch of souls and help redirect them. I'm going to have counselors at my production.
Oh, wow. I love that. I love that.
I'm going to have a nurse on duty. Okay. Just in case if anybody has a moment. It could be somebody from the cast, the production, anybody can have a moment. They need a glass of water. They need to talk to the counselor. They need their blood pressure checked, you know, because I'm going to have a nurse there. So I try to cover everything, you know.
So in saying that, is it going to be that deep? Is it going to be?
Well, you never know. A candy wrapper could be deep for a person. Yeah. You know, so
to set them off.
It could be a trigger, so you don't know.
Yeah.
It's true.
So it's because I went through it, so I know.
Yeah.
It is where somebody that didn't go through it, they think that maybe a gunshot could be real deep, but for somebody else, it could just be hearing a candy wrapper. Yeah. It could be seeing a black bag. For me, for example, a black bag. I can't handle that. That's a trigger, because in the liquor stores back in the 90s, I don't know if they do it today, but I know my ex that used to beat me. When he went to go to the liquor stores, they would put the 40 ounces. That was popular in the 90s. Right. The 40 ounces malt liquor in the black bag, and he would put that in the refrigerator.
I know exactly what you're talking
So
about.
seeing a black bag, that's a trigger for me. And I would probably have a moment. And I wouldn't help. You need somebody to de-escalate me and redirect me mentally. So it doesn't have to see something graphic and gruesome to be a trigger. Yeah. So that's why I have the nurse there.
I love that. I love that. And what you said just kind of triggered something else in my mind, is that a lot of women, and probably all people that have been through this, have post-traumatic stress disorder. Yes. And the last guest that I had on, she was surprised when they told her that, but she said just what you said, that the smallest thing would trigger something in her mind and she would be set off, but it was because she had that PS, you know, that post-traumatic stress disorder that was just kind of, and so she really needed to get counseling to be able to deal with that. And so that is great. So okay, in my pen ink, then you'll have this acronym for abuse. Can you just talk about that real quick? Oh. Do you need it?
Yeah. Okay. I've been writing so much, sometimes I forget exactly what I write. I'm always writing. Okay. Accept means I accept what I went through. Okay. So I can deal with the next chapter of it. And then I'm going to break the chains, because I'm going to get spiritual. I can't break the chains without Father God, because He created us. I have to go back to Father to break these chains. And then I'm going to accept Father's God unconditional love. Okay.
That's the you.
That's the me. Right. I'm going to look at myself in the mirror, and I'm going to stand, and I'm going to be strong, and I'm going to talk out loud to Father God like I'm talking to you to help redirect myself. And then within that, I become like a plant. That spiritual growth. My branches, these are my branches, my head, you know, everything is my branches. I'm going to sprout out. I'm going to become strong from the root, and the root is my feet. And then everything going to be endurance. Endurance is going to wrap around me like a tight bow. And then I'm going to look up and not down. I'm going to smile, and I'm going to be that queen that God has given me that crown. And that is what I mean by this.
Okay, so that you can take what is a bad word, abuse, and turn it around.
That's the exact correlation. Perfect. That could be a perfect segue. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing math, language, and acronym to get the topmost description of words, and that's exactly what she did. And that's what the math language, and that's what I'm pushing through my poetry is math language. Through acronym to get the topmost description, because that's how you get it. You break it down to the etymological meaning of the word, and then every single letter has a different meaning. I'm telling you, it's deeper than the paper. And I'm just trying to help her what she's doing. I'm just sitting on the sideline. You know what I'm saying? I'm double dutching. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing when it's time to get in, I'm gonna dance if she want me to. And if she don't, that's cool. But what she's doing is pure.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Father God just gave me something a couple of days ago and told me, don't forget, you have to do digital abuse.
Okay.
And I forgot that I went through that as well.
What is that?
For example, video games on the computer, cell phone. You can harass somebody by texting. Okay, that's digital abuse. Okay. Back in the 90s when I was being abused by it was video games. Because I had to, interrupt my ex and say, I need your help, I would get beat because I broke into his video games.
Oh, wow.
So I'm finding out now that a lot of divorces from young generation is based on the video games.
Oh, wow, really?
Yes, and they didn't have a word for that when I was going through it in the 90s, and I didn't realize I was actually being abused.
Wow.
So I saw a documentary on digital abuse, and I'm like, wow, I went through that.
Wow. Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. So, getting back to you, Lamont, do you have a role in the play, or?
I'm doing the play that she's going to read.
The poem. The poetry.
You're performing that during the.
I'm going to say it from a man's point of view, the same exact thing that she. I have a female that's going to do it the way I wrote it, and it's going to be a red shopping cart because that represents what I was going through at that time in my life. And she's going to be standing with a young boy, and then he's going to come in and he's going to say from a man's point of view. And so that particular poem is entitled From Whence I've Came.
Oh, okay. Okay. I can't wait to see this. We only have a few more minutes left.
Yes.
So I'm going to let you give I know you have a website, you have Instagram, you have 2 Facebook pages. You got a book, you got a play coming out. Give us all your contact information, how to contact you, how to follow you, how to get your book, and all of that good stuff.
Okay. So to follow me and also to get my book, you go to www.mussezett, The Poet. Okay. That is my website. I also have a Facebook fan page, which is Musette, MUSSZETT, The Poet. Okay. And that is how you can be able to get anything you need. As far as my books, as far as seeing some of my poetry, seeing some of my performances that are coming up, and also the date and the times of the show.
You have a YouTube channel too, don't you?
No, I have I've had some things posted on YouTube.
Oh, okay. I think that's a channel. Okay.
But you can also go to Musette Videos on YouTube, which is MUSSZETT, The Poet. And a couple of my videos will come up.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We are out of time. That time really went by so fast. You inspired me, and I can't wait to see. If I don't catch it in Florence, I'm definitely try to catch it in Willingboro. Can't wait to see this. We got 1 minute. Thank you both for being my guests again. Crystal Joy Murray, Musette, the poetess.
All right, you got it. Thank you.
And the play is called The Washdown.
Yes.
The Washdown. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you.
You've been listening to and watching The Other Side with K-Ro in the Public Interest. Thank you so much.
In the Public Interest on Trenton Talks is a program that explores different topics that are of interest to you. In the Public Interest on Trenton Talks can be heard every Tuesday night on 1300 WIMG at 6 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. and seen on WPHY 25. This is a service of WPHY Channel 25 and the Morris Broadcasting Company.